This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All righty, baby. Yes, sir. We are rocking and rolling. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend that is Manny Navarro. Manny, somebody chimed in and said that Gary Furman's reporting that Diaz is going to stay. Are you hearing any of that?
I got a phone call from someone when I requested an answer to that question. Is it true? And they said no decisions have been made yet. So
then it's true.
I mean, it could be. It could be. I mean, I've said that November 2nd when I came out with my story that, they were planning to spend more money on football, but there was no guarantee that Diaz was leaving. I mean, we had to see how the season played out. They wouldn't make a decision until after the season. So, I mean, I know fans, there's a ton of crap thrown out there all the time, Big O. Like everybody, I mean, everybody's a reporter now,
Yes.
Yes. I'm not going to chase down every report or rumor. All I can say is that from what I'm told, no decision on Manny Diaz's future has been solidified yet. So I know there's a new AD going to come in, and it'll be up to him probably to decide what he wants to do. And so in that regard, if you read Gary Furman's story and not the headline, and you just read the actual story, it's no different than what I was saying on November 2nd.
Okay. All right. Okay. Because I didn't see the story. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Somebody just posted it on the chat board right before you came on. I was like, well, I don't know anything about that. But if you're doing that, then you're not. Then you're going back to your cheap ways, and you're really not. Now, here's the thing. Here's what I want to ask you, dude. Mel Tucker is going to get $9.5 million per year at Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday, I was talking about this. It's Florida, USC, Washington, Troy, Vatech, FIU, UMass, Akron, TCU, Washington State, and LSU. Now, Florida, USC, Washington, TCU, Washington State, and LSU are the teams that are looking at the same kind of coaches that UM should be looking. Obviously, FIU, UMass, and Akron and Troy are not looking for the same kind of coach, obviously, but the other ones are.
Right.
So I'm wondering if the administration's looking around going, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be competing with a lot of schools. Some of them are willing to spend a lot more than we ever have. Maybe this is not the year to go coach searching because we're going to have to seriously overpay because the dude at Michigan State is already starting the floor at $9.5 million at that point. Because if you're paying $9.5 at Michigan State, you have to pay the same thing or more at the University of Miami.
Yeah. I mean, certainly the market affects, right, how much money you're going to spend and how much you're willing to commit. But, I think the one thing Miami fans have to keep in mind here is there's a certain set of facts that I can tell you are real. Well, number one, the administration has come out and told me and other reporters that they're going to spend more money. Now, did they say this is a 10-year commitment, a 5-year commitment, a 1-year Nobody's exactly said what it is, right? They've just said, hey, we're going to spend more money on football, right? That's a fact. The other aspect was, and I reported this and so have other people, that there's a chance that Manny Diaz could come back next year. So I just think, we can sit here and try to put all the dominoes together, and say, this, Miami, they're now the market has changed. They're not going to. No, I think the reality is there's a couple guys that they would probably want to be head coach. If they can't get those guys, the reality is they probably stick with what they've got. And I think, there's nothing wrong with that either. There's nothing wrong with that approach, right? If you can get an upgraded coach, you do it. But if you're really not going to upgrade the position and you're just going to invest in a new guy who isn't necessarily qualified, you're going to do Manny Diaz all over again. What's the point?
Right.
There's just there's no point in that. So I think everybody, I mean, look, I get it. Everybody wants to report on this. Everybody wants to get super excited and emotional over every little report or every little thing that's said. But the season's not over. It ends this Saturday. After Saturday, we'll see what they do. And once an athletic director gets announced and chosen, we'll have a clearer picture as far as what that guy wants. Because that's going to be the first question everybody asks, right? When he does his press conference and he talks. First question is going to be, what are you doing about football? So at that point, we'll know what it is that this guy really is all about. Whoever the next athletic director is and what their goals are. And look, there are very few people who really know what's going on. I think there's a lot of people who give money to the program, who have quote unquote sources, and they talk to people, and there's a whole lot of speculation. But to me, I'm an actions guy. Let's see what they really do. And
Yeah, me too. That's the sad part, that
yeah,
I'm very cynical because I've never seen them do it, and I've always, I've grown up with the administration always at odds with football, from Tad Foot all the way down, and so it's just one of those things that I'm kind of used to with this program. I've never seen them act like Ohio State or Alabama or Florida or any of these kind of schools that it's important to them to be great at football. You know what I mean? And they're willing to do whatever it takes to be great at football. And, there's a part of your story that I remember that when you were writing something about that the school realized that their reputation doesn't only come from medicine, that it came from sports. And I'm glad they realized that, because that's how they became the U. It's
right.
because of football. That's how they became known worldwide, because of football
Right.
overall. What put them on the map and then allowed them to grow academically at the same time. Maybe now's the time that you come full circle and you do what you're supposed to do and support the thing that created you, actually. But whatever.
Yeah. And look, man, I think that's the number one thing. That's the number one difference that has to change here with Miami is, do they just let the athletic department eat on its own, right? Eat off of its own budget, or do they actually supplement it and help it? And again, they were very thorough before they fired Blake James and before they make any decision on Manny Diaz. Their whole thing is, look, we have to get involved. We can't just sit here on the sideline anymore and be like, okay, football is not important, because it is. It's part of their branding. It's part of everything that is about. And if they're going to be respected, look, Julio Frank had a lot of pressure on him before COVID hit. There were people who wanted him out at Miami. The academic rankings were slipping. The law school ranking was slipping. I mean, there were people who were like, from an academia standpoint, were like, hey, this guy's not cutting it. And COVID comes along, and not only does UHealth make a boatload of money off of it, essentially, but the academic stuff, all that stuff people were talking about, kind of disappears. And now, everybody's focused again on football and saying, hey, your football program stinks, man. Why aren't you guys, he gets called out on national television. And so that's why all this is happening. I mean, that's the reality. That's why they're making more of a commitment to it. Now, to say that they're going to commit 20 to 30 million or 25 million every year to football, I don't think that's part of this at all. My read on it is they're going to help things get better, and their goal is to make things better. But I don't know that this is a lifetime guarantee. We don't know how long. I mean, how long is President Frank going to be there, right? I mean, he may be gone in a year or two. Maybe the next president comes in and says, no, cut this crap. This isn't happening. So I think right now it's all reactionary to what happened earlier this year when they were 2-4, and when the president basically was called to action. So they're going to make some level of commitment. I don't know what that means long term. I don't know if that means getting rid of Manny Diaz, but in some way, shape, or form, I think you're going to see an upgrade to this roster. I mean, into this coaching roster in some way, shape, or form. And whether or not that includes Manny Diaz, I don't know. But I think they're going to spend more money, and I think they're going to push. The next athletic director is going to push to upgrade this program. What that means, we'll see.
Is 2022 already kind of damaged? Because if you take long for this, we got recruiting season coming up, and you got commitments, and if you don't have decisions made, I think you're going to have players. You're not only not going to pick up new players, and you're going to have to settle for lesser players, but you might lose some of the current good ones that you have because they see the environment at the moment. So what's the urgency on the search part of it? You know what I mean? Because
yeah, I mean,
if you're planning on hiring an AD that you're going to tell them, hey, keep Manny for a year and then decide whatever you want to do after that, then there's not going to be much of a hurry.
Right.
But if there is urgency, then there's urgency. You need to get that AD in there so he can compete with other schools for the same, people they're all going after.
Right. Well, I think there certainly is a sense of urgency, because you can't just National Signing Day is on the 15th, right? The early signing period.
Yeah.
Kids are going to start entering the transfer portal as soon as the season ends. You need to have some level of direction. You can't just have uncertainty. So I feel like the athletic director hire will happen within probably the next week and a half. And at some point, there will be a declaration about whether or not Manny Diaz is sticking through the end of the year, coaching the bowl game, and the view towards the future. So to me, what's happening right now, probably behind the scenes, is conversations with Mario, conversations with Lane Kiffin, whatever coaches they really want to target, whether or not they think it's feasible that they can actually get them. And if the answer is no to those questions, and there's no way that they can upgrade that position, then more likely than not, he will come back. I mean, I don't see how you fire him unless they have an embarrassing loss at Duke, and and all of a sudden you see this mass exodus. I think what they want to protect against is losing the players, losing Tyler Van Dyke, losing James Williams and Leonard Taylor, guys that they have in classes. I think that's their priority right now because.
Oop, he froze on us. He's frozen in time. There we go. It looks like you're loosening up there. Let's see. Go ahead. No.
You there? Am I back?
Well, no, we're here. You're the one that's going in and out. We're here.
Yeah. I don't know.
You got a jolt there at the moment. There we go. It's all good. Now I think
I don't know what it is. Bad internet signal. Who knows?
Yeah, it's just the flow of the internet sometimes. You lose a little power and it's not as strong for the video. All right, so wait a minute. We completely lost him now. Okay, so let's see if we can reconnect with Manny Navarro. By the way, remember, follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. Catch his work there at The Athletic. I do have a couple things that I want to ask him before we let him go because I want to get his thoughts on it. Looks like he's back now.
All right, sorry. I don't know where it is. The internet fell.
Finish your point.
I forgot what I was in the middle of saying because I think I went on for a couple minutes there.
Yeah, no, it was about the AD search that you think it'll be done in the next week and a half, and then they'll decide.
Right, and I think at the same time they're going to have to make some sort of determination on Manny. Right, I think they'll probably announce he's going to coach to the end of the bowl game, or they'll have to have some sort of resolution to this so that they can act. Right, like, hey, we're either moving on to the next coach or we're going to keep him. And this is the plan. Like I just don't think you can go in and just have a whole month of December with uncertainty of is Manny Diaz going to be, coaching the bowl game and who's in charge of recruiting. Like, to me, there has to be some determination after this game.
Two of the most popular names that people have talked about as head coach is Lane Kiffin and Mario Cristobal.
Right.
I'm going to just give you two quick things that I, over time thinking about this, where I don't think either one's a good fit, actually. Believe it or not.
Okay.
One, Lane Kiffin already left Tennessee within 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
If he does this again to Ole Miss, that's two SEC schools that he's done this. He didn't stay long at FAU. You knew that was a stepping stone. If you're Miami, do you really want to bring in a guy? Do you really want to marry the woman that you met while she was married? And then you gotta then be with her for the rest of your life. And in the back of your head going, is she going to leave me too for somebody else down the line? Is she going to get bored of me? And Lane Kiffin seems to be that woman or man that bounces around a lot and has one relationship to another. So that's unstable. Two, I like Mario Cristobal personally. But if I'm going to be honest about everything, he's had all the resources possible, more than he'll ever have at the University of Miami. Even if they want to spend money, they'll never get to Oregon's resources. He's in a super easy conference, yet he can't dominate it. And he has those games like he had against Utah almost every year, pretty much. He has one of those. He had two of them this year against Stanford was the other one, actually. He's conservative on offense. In fact, Justin Herbert looks way better in the pros than he did at Oregon. I think he's the kind of guy, because of the conservative way he coaches, and I know he's a tough dude, and I know he wants a tough football team, and yada, 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 and he has some pretty high recruits already that are getting drafted really high. All of that. I think he'll get eaten up alive here because I think fans will tire of him quickly because he's been conservative throughout his time in Oregon. And we're talking about the Pac-12, which is normally a conference that's wide open normally and more scoring. If you look at it, I was talking about it yesterday with what's it called? With Cristobal. He's 34-12, 22-9 in the Pac-12 in his career. 22-9 in that conference is not impressive. And he beat Wisconsin 28-27 in the Rose Bowl, but lost the Fiesta to Iowa State 34-17, who was an 8-3 Iowa State team. I got to tell you something. I like him, but something tells me it won't end nice here because of the way the fan base is, the demands that there are. And if you can't dominate in the Pac-12, how can I expect you to dominate in the ACC and beat Nick Saban or Kirby or LSU or Auburn or any of these teams that you may end up meeting when you normally don't beat the SEC in Oregon? So out of these two candidates, are they really the right candidates?
Oh, I mean, I think they're the best available, right? I mean, those are the. I think that's what we have to acknowledge here is that
I got one better.
Okay, well, go ahead.
I would go Luke Fickell.
Okay.
Me, I would go Luke Fickell. I've seen him do more with less,
right,
than those guys, and that I'm impressed with. That I'm just saying.
Okay,
but go ahead.
That's not a bad candidate either. I have yet to hear his name from anybody at Miami. As far as a target, I think people view him maybe going somewhere else. But I think from a Miami perspective, and just talking specifically about Mario and Lane Kiffin, Mario's won the Pac-12, I guess, twice, and he won the Sun Belt once, and then Kiffin won Conference USA twice at FAU.
Oh, he dominated Conference USA.
From a game day coach perspective, I think Lane probably has a better overall track record.
Offensive mind.
Yeah. Offensive mind. I think that what you get in Mario is the recruiter. And I honestly think what's more attractive to me is the recruiting, because I think the talent at Miami has not been very good for a long time. I think it's been very overrated. I think we've all sat here and said, man, look at these great recruiting classes, right? We do it every December, every February. They're top 15. The reality is they're not producing first-round picks, man. They're just not getting those kind of players anymore. So to me, that's where it starts. Not that Lane couldn't recruit either, but I get your overall point. Like, you're not getting Nick Saban here or Dabo Sweeney or even Ryan Day. But there's only so many of those guys around. And so in that regard, I think that's where you're kind of stuck like Chuck, right? Like you're just not going to be able to get you're not going to be able to hit those other guys. So you have to sort of bank on, well, what's the best available option? And I think without question, you could say Mario is a top 3 recruiter in the country. I mean, the guy gets people to go.
Recruiter he is. I worry more about his coaching because he has been conservative. And then I know this fan base.
Right. Well, the fan base is never going to be happy. Miami fan base is never going to be happy until they're winning championships again. And here's the thing. I think Mario could come in here and win the Coastal Division every year. I mean, let's face it. Who is your toughest opponent? North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, who's been down now for a long. There's nobody in there that's worth a damn. Nobody that's ever going to be the national champ. Pittsburgh's never going to win a national title. North Carolina's never going to win a national. They're never going to recruit to that level. Right. At Miami, at least you have the ceiling of knowing that, hey, when you got the right guy down here and he's recruiting at the top level, you're going to get great players. I just think, you're more set up for success in this division if you're Mario than even in the Pac-12, where at times the people just kind of dismiss the Pac-12. If the ACC is really good and it's Miami, Florida State, and Clemson have 3 really good teams, you're always going to be in the college football playoff. To me, you'll end up, if this thing expands to 12, there'll be 2 or 3 ACC teams that make it every year. In my mind, if Miami, Clemson, and Florida State are the best.
You got to run the table in the Pac-12 is what you do.
Right. That's the problem.
And you're in.
You're in. Yeah. I think you could lose a game in an ACC school and still make the 12.
Yeah, if you lose Clemson, probably, yeah, you
Right.
could still probably make it because you still have the championship game to make up for it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of helps you make up for that one game that you get tripped up on. Even if it's not Clemson, actually, now that I think about it, even if it's not Clemson,
Right.
but
And
you
I
take
think
care of
Florida State, by the way, I think Florida State's going to be on their way back too. Like I think Norvell is like it's not. People don't realize the ACC is so average. Like it's just
No,
so
I know. I know.
that it's easy. That if you're really good at Miami, Florida State, or Clemson, you can win the division or the conference 6 years in a row like Clemson did. Like it's just a matter of getting back to that. And I
You
think
know what I've said for years. You know what the ACC stands for?
what's that?
Another crappy conference.
Right.
That's what it
Yeah.
stands for. That's what
Yeah.
it's been. Just
Yep.
another crappy conference. One more thing before you go. I know that I was invited to it too, but I didn't go to the whole reunion with the players and talk and all that.
Right.
Um, I don't have a lot of hope for that stuff that they want. And I saw who was it? Was it Highsmith or was it Bratton? Talk about he wants somebody that played on Green Tree and that's who should be the AD. I'm convinced that they'll never go in that direction. But you tell me, is there any chance
Well,
we see an AD that is actually a player, or do you get a real AD that then gets maybe a player as an assistant AD, so you can kind of do the two things, the fundraising, and then the player can help you with some of the football stuff?
yeah. I mean, look, they came close to that a couple years ago with Highsmith, and I think you know
That
I
makes
don't
sense.
see him being athletic director. I see him being in charge of the football being a GM type role, right? Where he helps with the recruiting aspect
Right.
and the talent evaluation and even the coaching. Like even just saying, hey, these are the kind of coaches we want to have here. We want to upgrade this position coach. I think those type of things are what I see reality. I don't think either one. I don't think we see those guys move into the athletic director role. I think it's more
Yeah,
of a
what
assistant.
I was thinking is what you do if you're the University of Miami, in a way to kind of maybe bridge it, is you hire an athletic director and, like you just said, a football czar, but no, you label him assistant athletic director.
Right.
So that way, yeah, he's handling football, but you're also training him or her. Well, no, it's got to be him, because if he played on Green Tree, we haven't had any
Right.
great female players on
Not
there.
cheered on
Yeah,
Green Tea.
yeah, no, no, no. So, but in the process, you're training him on the other stuff that he doesn't know about.
Right.
So then eventually he could become the athletic director once he's used to all the other responsibilities that you need as an athletic. Because there's a ton of stuff that we don't know about that, all these athletic directors are doing behind the scenes, and we have no idea what they're doing with tennis and what they're doing with crew and how they got to replace those coaches and fundraising events that they're all over the place all week, all over, so it's a complicated job. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just as, hey, let me hire a football coach and a basketball coach and a baseball coach, and then I'll sit in my office and just kick my feet back. That's just not the way it goes.
No, it's very time consuming, and that's the one thing people, I know they were all crapping on Blake James because he made the quick hire of Manny Diaz, but the guy was dedicated and he was at every freaking event and he was fundraising for every freaking team, and from an administrative perspective, he was doing a good job. It's hiring coaches, right,
Yeah.
and knowing what's going to work and what isn't, and that's where he lacked, and that's why he's without a job now. So. Yeah, I agree. I would love to see a role like that. And I also think they want to appease the players a little bit. This whole distancing, no sideline access, all that kind of stuff. I could see them in a way to help appease it because the criticism is sharp, man. Like
Oh, yeah.
Miami administration reacts to that, right? Herb Street goes on game day, rips them apart. They're tired of the players ripping them. They're tired of the players ripping the coach. They need some sort of peace, so to speak, right? So why not a couple of olive branches? Why not hire Benny Blades to be whatever in the recruiting department? Why not hire Alonzo Highsmith to have a role with the football team? Those things would, I think, go a little way in appeasing them and stopping the sharp criticism.
Hey, my Benny Blades voice. All right, listen, Manny, thank you for joining us here, man. Follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. It's our Canes Wear Miami Hurricanes report.
That's great stuff, dude. That's great stuff. I
All right,
appreciate
bro.
it.
You be good, brother. Much
By
love.
the way, the Athletic for till Monday, 12 months, $1 a month. Sign up now.
Look at that. Come on, that's
Black
a
Friday
bargain.
sale, baby. Through
Like
Monday.
crypto, buy the dip.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.